With tensions escalating over there, new fears about our economy brewing here, layoff announcements growing, consumer sentiment falling, as prices on just about everything keep rising, how much more can the economy take? Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears. And here they are, the Bulls and Bears this week. We have Gary B. Smith, Tracy Burns, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Jessica Ehrlich. Welcome to everybody. Okay, so John, lots and lots to worry about, but you say the real threat is all those price spikes?
Yeah, because we don't have a way to deal with a systemic shock. Now, we're not seeing that yet. We are seeing some good things with this economy. We're seeing jobs increase, but on the other side, we're seeing the lowest labor force participation rate in over 36 years. And you can explain away the GDP number in the first quarter. You know, the consumer is about 70% of GDP. But you can't explain it away for June. It wasn't bad weather in June. You only saw 0.2% of retail sales increase. And the average person is starting to feel this pinch. Wages have not gone up in about 15 years in real terms. And you're seeing prices go up. You're seeing ground beef up 16.5%. You're seeing oranges up 28%. You're seeing cheese up 11%. Gas prices are down the last couple of months, but with all the tensions in the Middle East, I can't see that happening throughout the rest of the summer as driving season is upon us. The risk to me is if this price inflation gets worse because we have no way to deal with it with low interest rates from the Fed.
And Tracy, it's not just the consumers who are feeling it. Businesses are feeling it as well. We're seeing them pass along a lot of price hikes, Chipotle's, Smucker's, Kraft.
Right, because look, corporations are a business, they have a bottom line, there's no way they're going to eat these increases. So between that, taxes, regulation, is all being passed on to us, the consumer. And you know what, I give some companies credit for just saying, hey, we're raising prices. Let's call a spade a spade. Because a lot of companies are trying to fool you. And, you know, have you ever opened a bag of potato chips lately? It's like half full. So you're getting less stuff. So, you know, your box of Chips Ahoy cookies are smaller, even though you're paying the same price. So they're trying to fool you. I actually think it's worse. I'd rather just hear, hey, look, we're passing these costs on, you're paying more, and then let the consumer decide whether they want to pay it.
Jessica, how do you see the economy?
Yeah, I actually have to agree a lot with what John and Tracy were just saying. It's something I know we've talked about before. The middle class is continuing to get pinched here. And I think it was also very interesting that in terms of retail sales, we saw in June that, you know, actually stores like Costco and at Old Navy, where prices are cheaper, were doing much better than some of even the middle of the road stores. I think we're going to see that again come, you know, as we have the new back to school selling season, which is huge for retail, is going to be happening. It'll be very interesting to see what those numbers come out at as well, because we haven't seen this increase in wages, and it's really just squeezing the American consumer and the American family. Jonas, and it's not going to be getting any better anytime soon.
Jonas, that's a good point. I mean, we haven't seen wage inflation. Really, wages have not been growing at all. If they don't grow, how can consumers be optimistic? And if they're not optimistic, how do they spend?
Well, in some ways, we're lucky. If we did see wage inflation, that's what would probably cause the Federal Reserve to stop the loose money policy, which would actually cause a recession. So in some ways, I don't want to say it's great that your pay is not going up, but look, pay isn't going to go up adjusting for inflation for everybody forever at a high rate. That might have been a 50-year anomaly in America. I will say some of this news is not as bad as it sounds. If you see bad news like Microsoft laying off people, you know, when's the last time you bought a Nokia phone? Like, that's explainable as to a business failure. They don't make good, their tablets are bomb, the pads are a bomb, the whole company's falling apart slowly. They're going to have to lay off people. When cocoa prices go up, if emerging markets are getting rich and buying more chocolate because they can afford it, that's not a bad economic indicator. That means the world's getting richer. That is a good economic indicator. Most of this food stuff you can tie to weather. That's what we should blame, not the Federal Reserve. If we see generalized bad news, companies that were doing well all of a sudden falling apart for no explainable reason, all prices going up because of monetary reasons, not because of weather, then yeah, then you got a serious problem on your hands. We're not quite there yet.
Well, Gary B., do you think we have a serious problem on our hands?
I don't. I can't believe I'm going to be the optimistic one here. Look, I think the economy has problems. I think the employment numbers still stink. I think housing is still flat. Those are the two big pillars, and I think wages, along with one more, I suppose, have really not gone up as household median income is kind of flat. But prices is really not my concern. Look, We mentioned like hamburger. Here's what real people do. They don't eat hamburger then. They buy pork or they buy chicken. Chipotle prices going up? Great. Then people go to Taco Bell. We live in a nation that has become so flexible and so willing to turn on a dime. I mean, you talk about all this price increase. I can't think of many. Maybe if you have your electric bill goes up, really nothing much you can do about that other than maybe, not turn on as many lights. Maybe your gas bill, you have trouble there. But even gasoline prices, people just drive less. We saw that with the last gas spike. So they are a concern. Look, prices are going up. I shop every week at my local Safeway, and I see it. But even in our family, we've learned to adapt. We don't buy the Chips Ahoy. We buy the Safeway brand cookies. That's what I think is people are missing.
Okay, John, Gary Vee made a good point. He was optimistic and said that price spikes are not the issue. But he mentioned unemployment and housing. Housing is flat. New housing starts are down. Aren't those big concerns?
Yes, they are big concerns, and I never thought about what Gary Vee said. Is if food prices go up, just quit eating. That's the solution to it all. I'm kidding, Gary Vee. I took you out of context. I know I did. Yeah, there is a problem with we have the lowest labor force participation rate. As I said, we have 93 million Americans that are not working right now, and you're having companies that are laying off, but you're also having a lot of companies that are moving out of our country because of our tax code that is so bad right now for corporate taxes. And so you do have a lot of systemic structural problems. And when you have structural unemployment right now, the only thing that we have that's creating jobs right now is the energy sector. You can lower rates to below zero. It's not going to help if you have structural unemployment, and that's what we have right now. And because of that, you're seeing house prices stay down, inflation stay down. That is why our inflation number is so low, because in the United States we put an overweight on housing as far as inflation, not on food. Real people are seeing real prices go up. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disneyland, food prices, they're all going up for real people out there.
And the thing is, Brent, like the stress eater who needs that Hershey bar doesn't really care that the emerging markets are doing well, and that's why cocoa prices are up. All that person knows is that bar is costing me way more money, and it's biting into my family's household income. So, yeah, maybe the world is doing better, but when you're here at home, here in the United States, and as everyone pointed out, my wages are not going up, I don't care the reason. Whether political, who cares? All I know is I still have to buy milk and eggs, because that's kind of irreplaceable in my household, at least. I still have to buy that stuff, and all that stuff is still going up.
And Hershey bars, too.
And Hershey bars. That's a food group.
It is.
From a political standpoint, it's a huge issue that we've got. Not only back to school sales are coming up, but we've also got a midterm election that's going to be happening. These should be the topics, because that's what people are really going to be thinking about. These consumers are voters, and they're out there, and they're not pleased with what's going on.
Okay, that's got to be the last word. Thanks.